In 2000, the Vatican finally reveals the third secret of Fatima by showing a scary vision of an angel with a sword on fire, ready to burn the world down. It's not a small thing that this news has been known for a long time. It has disturbing connections to the lives of Pope John Paul I and Donald Trump. Even though they lived decades apart, their stories are so similar that it makes me wonder, could this be the key to the third message of Fatima? Are the pieces of truth that the Church once threw out the leftovers of a bigger secret that will be revealed in 2025? There is also the shade of Our Lady of Fatima over American politics. Andrew Mahana, a Maronite priest, gave Trump a figure of the Virgin Mary as a gift, and it was put in the White House, which is the center of world power. When she is put in place on Inauguration Day, she blesses the West Wing, which is then turned into a spiritual chapel, a surprising place of peace in the middle of politics. Let's go back to May 13th, 1981. On this day, a supernatural event stopped a violent act. An assassin tried to kill Pope John Paul I, but amazingly, he lived. It's not an accident that this happened on the day that we honor Our Lady of Fatima. This is proof that the Virgin Mary was involved. The Pope said that when the shooter pulled the trigger, the bullet was guided by an unseen force that kept him from dying. The next year, the Pope goes to Fatima to show his gratitude. There, he gives the bullet to the Virgin Mary and puts it in the crown on her statue while saying, "You saved me. I was saved by you." This line of events makes us think deeply about the part that Providence has played in modern history. In 1917, in Fatima, Portugal, the Virgin Mary showed up to 3 children and gave them important messages. She also gave them dreams, one of which was of hellfire. Every year on July 13th, people remember these ghostly figures. This happened more than 100 years later, on the same day in 2024, when President Donald Trump of the United States was almost killed in Pennsylvania. This happened at an event, and by chance, that day was also a Catholic holiday for honoring the Virgin Mary. Some people thought that the figure of the Virgin of Fatima in the nearby church was a sign that God would protect them. Doctors and other people who saw what happened thought it was a miracle that Trump lived. On Twitter, Trump thanks everyone for their prayers and said that only God could have kept bad things from happening that day. An awful lot of people think that the Virgin Mary helped protect the president, just like she did for Pope John Paul I. They thought that her prayers saved Trump's life and put him under the care of God. 3 children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacinta, were in the small Portuguese town of Fatima on June 13, 1917, when they saw something that would change not only their lives, but also the history of the world. They were in Cova da Iria, an area with olive trees all around it, when Our Lady of Fatima, the Virgin Mary, showed up to them. She told them 3 secrets, which were both exciting and dangerous. In 2000, the Vatican told the third secret, which was a dark prophecy that showed a world in ruin and misery. The Catholic Church didn't see this message as a prediction of what would happen in the future. Instead, they saw it as a look back at the problems people have had in the past. But now that it's 2025, these predictions seem more important than ever, making people all over the world both scared and interested. The big question is still, do these dreams mean that bad things are going to happen soon, or do they make us think about how we live? Even though the lessons of Fatima come from specific visions, they are timeless and speak to everyone about the need to change, do penance, and look out for each other. During this time of world crises like climate change and unfair pay, these teachings are especially important. The most important lesson of Fatima may still be its call for people to work together to solve problems. Today, we are still moved by the memory of the miracle of the sun, this amazing display of divine power. This prophecy is not just a mere warning about the end of the world. It is a lesson of the light we can find even when things look the darkest. It makes a reference to the Second World War to show that the disasters described could happen again if we don't listen to these warnings. We haven't seen the apparitions at Fatima in a long time, but their words have had an undeniable effect on many lives, giving them both direction and comfort in their faith. The stories of Fatima remind us of basic values and how important faith is. These stories can really shape our shared vision for the future. We are asked to find hope in the dark, to help when things are unclear, and to be a part of a change that could be very important for the future of our world. It wasn't until 1930 that the Bishop of Leiria Fatima publicly recognized the apparitions of Fatima. This made the messages and demands of the Virgin Mary even more real. A lot of people have thought about and talked about the third part of the secret that the Vatican keeps under lock and key. It was supposed to be made public in 1960, but it wasn't until 2000 that it was made public. At that time, a piece of this third secret was finally revealed during a big event where Francisco and Jacinta Marto were made saints. It showed a vision from the end of the world, a bishop in white who looked like the Pope, walking slowly through a destroyed city before being put to death on a mountain next to a big cross. This possibly stood for the Church's troubles and problems. The official view from the Vatican was that this vision was connected to the attempt to kill Pope John Paul II in 1981, and that the warning was about that event. But believers and theologians are still not sure about this theory. Some think that the secret may have bigger and deeper effects on the suffering of the Church and the world in the future. The late and incomplete disclosure of the third secret is still causing people in the Catholic community and beyond to talk and think. This shows how complicated and broad Fatima's lessons are. They make people think about their spiritual and physical future. Everyone thought the ending ceremony's picture of a goddess without a head and wings broken was an insult to God. In her predictions from September 20th, 1877 and January 4th, 1884, Marie said that natural disasters like earthquakes, storms, and quickly spreading plagues would happen, along with blood rain for 7 weeks. The world would also have to go through 3 days of complete darkness. Marie said that the punishments would be global and never-ending, destroying the earth and killing 3/4 of the world's people, half of them in France. She didn't say how long they would last, though. It would be so hard to stay alive that you would have to go a long way to find another person. Even though these images are scary, they don't mean the end of the world. Marie stressed that after this hellish reign, signs from heaven would show that a holy king would rise and rule the world with divine justice. She didn't go into great depth about these predictions, but she did say that this king would rule the whole world. After going through this terrible ordeal, the survivors would find a renewed faith and a simpler way of life. The different Christian groups would work together. Marie-Julie Jaheni said that France was the center of these punishments from God. As the first Catholic country that would have to protect the Church and the faith during times of error and persecution, France would take the most damage because it broke many rules and stopped supporting its holy monarchy. Devastating damage would happen in cities like Paris and Marseille, and despair would be evident, marked only by death and blasphemy. Marie-Julie said that evil would get so bad that even good people might give up when it got too heavy. She talked about how the Church's job is to win in hard times and how God talks to people through messengers. The Bible writes about these dangers. No one knows for sure when these trials will happen, but people need to turn away from their sins right away because trouble is coming. This prophecy from July 7th, 1880, says that the Church will have a hard time and that its boss, the Pope, will go through a lot of trouble. People might not remember or understand how important Leo XIII's reforms and lessons were. Because of a vision in which Satan questioned God's power, this Pope asked St. Michael to protect the Church. But after Vatican II's changes, these prayers were taken out of the liturgy. Some people think that this made the church less spiritually strong, which let Satan gain more power. St. Catherine Emmerich had seen this coming decades before it happened. On September 20th, 1881, another vision shows the Lord crying over those who have rejected him. It also predicts a time when evil will win before the church finally wins. Marie-Julie urges everyone to keep the faith even when things get hard. Even though these prophecies are scary, they are also calls to get back to prayer and faith. They stress that people have to choose between good and bad because God is about to judge them.